Today we're going to be doing a video on the chain rule. The chain rule is used just like the rules for the derivatives, only you're going to be doing it when you actually have a function combined together. It's going to make your life a lot easier by doing this. Just like the limit definitions on the derivatives and how to take the derivatives and all that good stuff, the chain rule has its own little limit definition. We know this as dx, which is just derive the prime of f cx, because we're using the chain rule. Think of it that way. Think of that c as chain rule, x equals. As the limit approaches 0 from h, you're going to have an extra c right here, and you're also going to have a c right here added in from the original limit definition rule. And you actually got to kind of put that in there, so when you do that, you have the limit of h goes to 0, f cx plus h minus f cx divided by h. Kind of want to get c on the bottom, make this a little bit easier on us, because when we solve this, h is going to become 0. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to multiply c to get that on the bottom, and now we're going to have the limit as h approaches 0 as f cx plus ch minus f cx divided by ch. When we plug in our zeros, we will find that the f prime will equal, or it will equal to, the limit definition will equal to f prime cx times c. What that means is, when you have an equation, you'll take the derivative of it, put it here, keep what you had in the middle of it, times what the derivative of c, which it will be your c, will just be your c. It'll be, that will be this primed, so you'll just have c in whatever c prime is. Now before we start, I want to get something really important in case you don't know trig derivatives. These are very, very important. If you don't know trig derivatives, doing the chain rule will do you no good, because if you don't know what the derivative of a trig is, then you can't solve your equation. So let's start with a really basic one. We're going to do over here sine 2x prime over the whole thing. See, like I told you, if you had looked back over here, the derivative of sine x is cosine x. So then we come back over here, you have cosine. You kept what was in the middle, so you still have 2x. Then you multiply it by the derivative of what 2x is. The derivative of 2x is just 2, so you just have times 2 there. And that's your answer, using the chain rule. That was it. Another example, a little bit more complicated one, which it may or may not be more complicated to you. We're going to be doing this. And this is a little bit different when you have this squared. You have no trigs, you have no nothing, and you're taking the prime of it using the chain rule. What we're going to do over here is we're going to do f prime gx times g prime x, which is basically the same thing, but look at what I'm doing. I'm assigning my variables here. I know my f is x squared. I know g, which is going to be this, is 2x plus 3. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take the derivatives. F prime is 2x, and g prime is just equal to 2. So what I did here was I pulled the exponent down and put it right here, subtracted by 1, kept what was inside, took the derivative, just like here, 2x plus 3 times 2 is what you're left over with. Then you go ahead and distribute the 2, which will give you 4x plus 6, and then you distribute the 2 in there. Your f prime of x, after using the chain rule, will equal 8x plus 12. Okay, one last thing. If you ever get an e to the power of something, and it's not just x, because you know the derivative of e to the x will always be e to the x. But what if you have the derivative of e sine the x? What you'll basically do is you'll just keep the e sine the x, and you'll just multiply it by what was the exponent, which you know sine x is cosine x. So, and that's your answer after using the chain rule. You could keep on deriving and deriving, using limit definitions and doing whatever you need to do, but keeping it simple, your professor may or may not like it that way. It really depends on how your professor is. So remember, your trig derivatives are very important. They're really going to help you out using the chain rule. Remember the limit definitions, and remember how to solve.